Welcome to another episode of Behind the Agency. This week, I'm very excited to have James Kwon on. He is the CEO of Figmints. James, can you tell us a little bit more about your agency?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Dave. I really appreciate
Of course.
getting to have this chat with you. So Figments is a full-service digital marketing firm. We were once all in person here before COVID happened in Rhode Island and in a little city called Pawtucket, just north of Providence. And since COVID, we've been fully virtual. So a little more than half our team is distributed around the world. And yeah, we're about 15 to 20 people, given the bench that we use regularly and things like that, as most agencies have now come to realize the power of being able to hire from anywhere. But my personal background is in UI UX. I was actually employee number 5 at CBS.com. Worked on one of their first responsive websites, or the first responsive website for CBS. And back then, there's only 5 of us on the .com team. It was like, maybe .com will be important for CBS. And yes, it is. 4 million people visit CBS.com a day, I believe now. So learning the nuances of where to draw people in, and went on from there to work on big brands like Mini Cooper, Virgin Mobile, Puma, AT&T, name drop, and got to start the agency 15 years ago. And we're celebrating our 15th year. We're going to throw a quinceanera this year, which we're very excited about. So
Nice.
You're not a Latina woman, so you may not know how exciting the quinceanera is, but it is. I'm super stoked. Like, a good chunk of our team is from Latin America, and so they're very, very excited to be a part of Figments quinceanera.
Right on. Well, to be around for 15 years, you have to have done a lot of things right, and I'm sure you've also probably learned a lot in the process as well.
Sure.
I feel like any of us, there's missteps and lucky good steps that you take along the way. But one of the things we talked about when we talked earlier was, kind of running into some growth constraints as you have been growing, and that you've kind of run into for years, and only have kind of more recently fully understood that.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of, I guess, maybe your efforts around growth?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to comment on what you said, I think there are plenty more mistakes than there have been, like super successes or super wins. And I think the best entrepreneurs, I don't consider myself the best entrepreneur, but the ones that I respect and appreciate the most are the ones who figure out a way to turn those mistakes and trials into propelling things forward. And I'd say we really similar challenges as many agencies that listen to your podcast and that you've run into. There's always a hesitancy to narrow in and niche into a category. There's always this blend of challenge with the needing to sign enough work to keep you going, and need to hire enough people and find the right talent to stick around and fulfill on that work. And then when you hire too many people, you don't have enough work, and then you're like in this cycle trying to kind of keep those going. And so we learned that pain very early on. And so a couple of things that we've done that I think were really impactful for us. One was really focusing on MRR really soon in our agency. So very early on, my background is in design, and so it's very project oriented type of work. And we latched onto HubSpot and kind of this new marketing automation kind of world, started to fall in love with marketing. I was like, wow, this is cool. This is even more levers than design, and what I fell in love with was business. And so I'm kind of a systems person. I love EOS, which has helped us kind of structure and organize our business. And one pain point that really kind of constrained our growth, I think, the most was hiring the best people and having those best people realize that they want to get paid more, and always running into the struggle of wanting to pay them more, but not really having the dollars, the capital to be able to do that, and not knowing when it was appropriate to do that. And so recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've developed a system similar to EOS, more like Profit First, that we call Slices, and that's helped us kind of think through the compensation layer and making things really equitable and fair and winnable for everybody.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to dig into that. I mean, I know you mentioned that it's partially inspired by profit first.
Mhm.
But I'd love for you to kind of like unpack maybe kind of maybe why profit first wasn't enough and why you kind of felt like this was like the logical next step for it.
Yeah. So if people haven't read Profit First, it's a great book. Michael McCallitz makes this argument that companies who any company who has revenue, especially service-based companies, um, what they wind up doing is they get the revenue, celebrate, great, we got a whole bunch of money. They wind up paying people to get the work done. They pay all their bills, and then whatever's left over is the profit. He'll make the argument that actually you should carve out the profit at the very beginning so that you are never trying to scrounge up the dollars at the end or run out of money or overspend, what you have. And I love that principle, but I think it's short-sighted in that that doesn't help. That might help operationally, but doesn't help people along the way. And so, my extension to profit first and slices is that everything should be carved out in these kind of percentages. So every dollar that you get in, we carve out a percentage that goes to how we got the lead. So that's our marketing, who sold that deal, who does the account management, the strategy, we call it fulfillment or the actual production of the work. And then we reserve some for operations and profit. And so that this creates kind of a dynamic budget. It incentivizes individuals to work more. If they work more, they get paid more. And so being able to discuss one-on-one with an individual, yeah, if I want to make 100K, 200K. Okay, great. Here's how you would conceivably do that through our slices now. And so here's the work that you need to do. And if you do that work and you get this done and clients are happy, then you get paid that much. So that has really revolutionized the way I think as an even employer, helping individuals kind of seek their ideal salaries, seek their the type of work that they want to do, their growth trajectory. So it's been awesome for us. And now we're systematizing. I'm trying to write a book. We're building an app for it. So trying to create a little world around that.
That's cool. It sounds like it basically probably would really work well with people who are motivated by like, I'm going to get out whatever I put into this. Right?
Definitely.
Where it's like, oh, if I work harder, then I might actually see some upside from it. Whereas I think a lot of companies, whether it's SaaS or agency or wherever, it's like, oh, the person who's kind of phoning it in is getting paid the same as the person who's really, pushing hard. It's like there's less motivation to really, to really crush it if there's no upside. And so it sounds like what you're doing really tries to give more upside to the people who really want to work for it.
Yeah. So the classic term for this is pay for performance. And I think the best utilization comes from pay for performance because people have skin in the game. They know how to play. It's a winnable game. It's a winnable system for them. And so Slices is designed to teach people, how they can make more, how the game is played, make it really objective and fair, really open, so that they can do better. But even internally, for people who don't like pay for performance, I would argue most of them may be underperformers, right? They are underutilized as an individual because they don't want to be held accountable to what their actual output is. And so Slices just very objectively calls those people out, and you can very easily see. Whereas otherwise, we've had this smart people kind of are able to talk themselves into or talk their way out of accountability in the work that they produce or what they're working on. Like, oh, I can only handle 2 clients if we're going to do this the best way. Well, that's not the way our model works. If you utilize our systems, you should be able to take on more. Or if you handle 2 clients, they need to be way bigger for us to make your salary make sense. I mean, otherwise we're paying them out of somewhere else, right? We're borrowing from other Slices to pay that back. So creates a really fair system, in my opinion.
That's cool. What I guess was like the moment when it felt like, it went from idea to, hey, this is something that can practically work. Like it's not theoretical anymore.
Yeah, that's a good question. So this has been on my mind for a long time because I had this revelation because we were at once a time-based agency. I would imagine many folks who have been around a while, they start at least like we charge X amount of dollar per hour. and we pay, this much per hour. So you charge more than you pay, and you're in business. And what would happen is, we found out, yes, this one metric is the metric that we're going to watch like a hawk every single week. It's our billable hours per week. And so we even set a goal every week. If we hit the billable hours by Thursday, so Friday through Thursday, if we hit the billable hours, we would buy everybody lunch on that Friday of the week, and we called it Super Bowl. It was awesome. We would celebrate, and at the time, I think it was like $40,000 a week, something like that. And so that one stat was really useful. Like, we need to bill that many hours, we need to invoice that many hours, we need to invoice that many dollars, we need to collect that many dollars, we need to send out proposals that are 3x, whatever our closing rate was, of those dollars. And so that was the one metric we lived and died by. That. Come to find out, after 3 to 6 months of running that program and buying lots of lunch for folks, I found out we would hit our billable hours, or billable dollars, 40K, 45K. There's 1 week we hit 45K, and the reality was we tracked that time, but we were actually almost triple over budget on a project. And so it was a false indicator, because we were saying, oh, hooray, we hit this billable hour mark. And it was almost completely arbitrary, because we weren't actually getting paid for that. And so we were pulling out of our profit, and we weren't doing profit first at the time. So we were wondering why we didn't have any money in the bank. It was because we were tracking this almost a vanity, metric a little bit. Whereas Slices ties it to the dollar. So I had this idea, like, why don't we do this? Tie it to the dollar, tie everything that we're doing to the dollars that we're receiving. And we started a subsidiary, or a business unit within the company that just did that. And so, one of my favorite stories to tell is a designer of ours now. He quit his job and was trying to do freelance work at the time. He was pretty good, pretty talented, definitely can tell, really hard worker. He was like, James, if I can make 50K a year, I feel like I'd be in a good place. And I was like, that's a really reasonable salary. We just don't have that money to pay you. I wish we did. But hey, we have this new system we call Slices, where we can give you the work. Do you want to, try it out and start part-time and take on as many slices as you want? Well, he took on one project, then the next, and the next, and the next. First year he did 80K. And the second year he did 110K, 120K. He's consistently above 140, 150 now. And that's because he was good and fast, and he learned how to get more slices of every project that came in. So he learned how to do account management really quickly, learned how to do strategy, learned how to sell things. And now he's, essentially running kind of almost a micro brand under our umbrella that are his base of clients, his portfolio of clients. And he's doing really well. Now we're talking about other slices on the ownership pie. So, we could do a profit share. We could do, he can have some of those slices. And so, I'm more than willing to do that. In the past, Dave, maybe, you probably know, as a person who's been in that seat in the past, just really hard to even conceptualize how to get somebody to a 150K salary. Like, I'd be so hesitant that, so reluctant to get somebody there, because I'm like, I don't know, do we even have that kind of money to pay somebody? But now I can very clearly kind of write a line from where we are to that kind of goal.
Yeah. Is there anything that, like, agencies need to have in place for Slices to work, or like kind of like to set the stage for it? Or I guess.
Yeah. I don't think you need much. If you receive dollars for work that you're doing, I think you're all set for Slices. My aha moment at the very beginning, now I teach Slices to other agencies, and one of the first things I say, hey, surprise, you have Slices, whether you think you do or not. You have a percentage of revenue that goes towards sales efforts. You have a percentage of revenue that goes towards operation expenses, towards profit, et cetera. And then we can kind of take a litmus and say, whoa, you're way over on gross profit. You're spending way too much on getting these projects fulfilled, or your profit margin's way too low, or oh my gosh, your sales margin's really low. You're probably not paying yourself for the sales effort that you're doing. And so let's carve out your salary and put them into the right categories to get a better picture of, where the effort is going. So do agencies need to get prepped before Slices? No, just a desire to, want to have better visibility and be able to roll it out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Would you say that, like, I mean, you did the agency thing first, and now you have slices, kind of maybe a slightly different beast. Would you say it's changed you as a founder or maybe how you look at things?
Oh, for sure. I've always been a agency by day, product development by night kind of R&D person, lots of ideas. We've launched a bunch of things. One of those things just recently got acquired, which has been awesome. So it put
Nice.
I put a fire in my belly to do more of this stuff. And I really believe Slices as a product, I think is great. Um, it's unique. It has a very targeted market around professional services for now. Yeah, and I've always loved pay for performance um, as a strategy or a philosophy, and so it checks a lot of boxes on the things that I've been passionate about for a while. So that's been great.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Dave, can I pause here? I'm gonna turn this light on because being in the
Yeah.
Northeast, it's gonna go dark in like 2 seconds.
No worries. All right. Well, so you've done all this slices work. You're still growing as an agency. Now that you're kind of productizing, hiring sales again, what would you say you do differently to avoid any of like your past sales hire failures?
Oh man, that's such a good question because we're looking to hire a salesperson right now, and I hope I don't make the same mistakes as I did before. Here's what we're trying differently. So we've had 6 or 7 salespeople in the past, and none of them have been terrific successes. And we're hoping that this next one will be. One of the reasons I think we've failed in the past hiring salespeople is because selling Figmints is really difficult. We fall into the rut of not being niched enough, doing too many things. And so having been in the business my whole life and having started the business, I know all of the nuances of, the right words to say to the right people. I know the case studies that we've worked on in the past, and I can kind of point people in the right place. And I know enough now about a lot of the parts of the full digital marketing process, from storytelling to branding to web to technology to digital marketing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's really hard to teach a sales guy or salesperson who has some experience selling software a little bit, to try to get them to know and understand that kind of full breadth of the marketing process and sell it like I would, because I sell it passionately. And so what we're doing differently is we have a new product that we're excited about. It is a more scaled version of a marketing process. We're trying to sell it to business groups. So we have a specific product, we have a specific target, and we're hiring a salesperson to just sell that product and go out there and make relationships and trying to find somebody who already has existing relationships with those types of businesses, people who gravitate towards that product and really believe in it. So and of course setting up a slices system for them to win, so we can easily see, yep, if you sell this many, we can start to create a pro forma of here's how many you have to sell, and here's the difference, how the slices are going to function over time, and here's what you can make in year 1, year 2. That becomes really exciting, and so that's what we're doing differently. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, say a prayer.
Yeah.
We're doing all the things to try to make it work this time around.
Well, I feel like if you're getting somebody who already understands kind of the market that you're going to be selling to, I think that's a big step in the right direction. Just,
sure.
I think a lot of times, you have people who try to talk the lingo of the market that they're talking to, and it just falls on deaf ears, or
Mm-hmm.
just, comes across as false. So I think bringing somebody from, at least with familiarity with that market, is going to go a long ways. I think the other part is, you're kind of describing a problem that I think a lot of agencies struggle with, which is like, how do you get out of founder-led sales?
Sure.
Because all the inner workings of everything. And I think it really comes down to how do you download as much of what's in the founder's brain into SOPs and other sorts of processes and thoughts, so that it's not just coming from a place of instinct, but it's something that can be learned and repeated by somebody else.
Totally. And productize, right? So if it's a system that you're selling rather than like what hurts you, I know we can help, but we don't know what. That consultative kind of sales process is much harder, for somebody to learn. Dave, you're a pro you're a pro on the sales side here. So if I can ask you this question on hiring salespeople, I've heard it's a good idea to hire 2 salespeople so that they, like horses run faster when they have another horse that they're running with. For a small agency like ours, do you think that that's a good way to go? Like try to find the top 2 salespeople, hire them both, and see which one starts to succeed, or no, that's a fable. If the right guy, the right person can figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of depends. I think as long as you give them the right tools, I think you might have success from both. Maybe not the same level of success, but I think a lot of it comes down to, are you equipping them with, like, do they know who your ideal clients are? Do they know what the agency, like, kind of competitive advantage is, so that they can kind of on a call say, hey, here's how we're different from other folks you might be talking to. Do they, like you said, kind of the consultative sales, like they know not to just kind of do some sort of high pressure, always be closing sort of thing, and more of like, hey, here's like the sort of questions that we might want to ask up front that'll kind of surface the pains that they have.
Sure.
And, maybe set up an opportunity for us to say, well, we could do X, Y, and Z based off of what you said. Like, I feel like that was a big learning curve for me, as the whole consultative sale sort of thing. And honestly, it doesn't feel like sales anymore. It just feels like me getting to know the person I'm talking to, and seeing if it's a good fit. I can be like, hey,
being curious.
Yeah, like, oh, based off of what you're saying, this might be a solution that you're looking for. If not, like, I'm happy to recommend, X, Y, and Z people, or, maybe we're not the right fit right now, but here is somebody else that you should talk to first, and then come back to us after you've done this sort of foundational work, and we'd be happy to help you down there. Like, that sort of way of approaching things is maybe a little counterintuitive for a certain type of salesperson, but I think for the right type of salesperson, they can really thrive.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you think the double salesperson is more of a gimmick, and the more important thing is somebody who is curious and
I mean, if you can if you can figure it out for one person, then there's no harm in adding another person,
to
kind of make it a little bit more of a, gamify it a little bit, for sure. But I think making sure that you have some of the good guardrails in place, and the right resources there for them, so that even one person can succeed. And once you know that one person can succeed, it's like, okay, well, now we can add somebody else to kind of maybe up the ante for them.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you are kind of shifting to salespeople. Pay for performance model and slices is obviously very geared towards a sales compensation model. It's almost like the philosophy is paying everybody like a salesperson, right? You pay them a draw, and they have to get the work done. They have to close the deals in order to pay back that draw, or and that's really kind of in theory how we pay everybody. That idea with you can have your base whatever you want, as long as you're hitting the slices to meet that base or exceed it, and we'll pay you, the difference.
Yeah, that's a really cool model. I guess one question I did have about the slices thing is it software? Is it a kind of system, kind of like EOS? Like, when you're trying to describe or compare it to some things that people are familiar with, what would you say it is?
Yeah, I really love the EOS model. I'm a Kool-Aid drinker of traction. I always have one on my desk somewhere. And I have a bunch on my, maybe you can't see it here, but I have a bunch on my shelf to give away. I love being the person who shares EOS, but I love that it's philosophy first. Usually that philosophy is taught through a book or through consultants. So there's probably a consultative arm there. That's how we've started, as running cohorts and training agencies by the group or by individual. But it's kind of a no-brainer. You need technology to run it. A spreadsheet is only going to get you so far, and we've broken that spreadsheet so many times and made 5-figure mistakes on that spreadsheet. So having a system that can automate some of those things. And here's my hot take is, most bonus programs, most pay for performance programs, they fail because the employee doesn't have the view regularly, right? You kind of, many companies have like a carrot that they dangle and say, well, if we hit a certain sort of profit margin, or if we get these sorts of things done, they set that goal for the year, which is way too long. Even 6 months, I think, is too long. But a system that can show an employee view of how well they're doing right now, and hey, maybe a little AI in the future if it's built in. If you did these things, you can achieve this target salary that you're looking to get. Here's some other ways that you can achieve that. Well, you got to hit your goals, your rocks. You have to stay on your core values, but here's some other things that you can do. Learn this other slice that you don't usually get. Learn that, because we have a lot of those. You can get those, and then the ability to take those slices. And some agency owners have picked up on this. Democratize that across kind of a platform with other agencies and say, well, I have these 10 projects that we can't do, or we're overloaded, we're imbalanced. So the ability to, say, yeah, I can pick up that slice and, take slices from somewhere else, kind of creates this evenness in revenue and capacity. And so, yeah, you can't do that on a spreadsheet either. So it's kind of a no-brainer. We have to build an app. And again, UI UX that's my background. I love the idea of building something that we can scale in an application and create a little product around it. And so I think it really is kind of that ecosystem. I wish EOS, I know they just recently built an app, but I don't know if it's that good. So if they had an app, I think it would have been, really easy. Like, fall in love with the system, read the book, fell in love with the system, sign on to the app. Now you have a customer that's kind of ongoing. And so we're gonna hopefully kind of roll out with all of them at once.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially, I thought that was interesting. The kind of the being able to share slices with other agencies, where it's like, oh, we need to kind of like, we need some work in this area. Do you think that this potentially has some benefit in kind of what we're seeing that's going towards a little bit of like the solopreneur economy, where
for sure,
there's a lot more freelancers out there, and so they can just be like working for multiple companies, and it seems like slices would really work hand in glove with those sorts of folks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I started the agency, if you wanted to grow, you were building a team, and that's always been a challenge, building a team. Yeah, that's a whole separate conversation about culture and loving people. I've many scars to show there, but the ability to gain slices from different places from contractors. I mean, the gig economy around Upwork exploding, work from home exploding, smart people with the ability to do this from wherever, just extends the reach that we have in our bench, from anywhere. So yeah, I don't know an agency that doesn't use any contractors anymore. Like, they can't have every discipline in-house
represented.
So, yeah. So I think that's going to just grow and grow. I've met a lot more agencies with one or two founders, one or two employees, and the entire team is a bench. Entire team is remote contractors. The entire team is other micro agencies that are kind of pulled together like a collaborative or a cohort. So
yeah. I've actually talked to some folks who are kind of doing more of a collective model, or folks who are like, they sell the strategy and then they subcontract for the execution or something along those lines. So yeah, that's super interesting. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading your book when it comes out.
Me too.
Yeah. But in the meantime, for people who want to reach out, get to know you, maybe test out slices, or just kind of learn from your agency experience, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, so appreciate that. LinkedIn is great. I do check those. They come straight to my inbox. So if you find me on LinkedIn, it's I'm LinkedIn in/Jam Kwon, JAMKWON. And I think I'm still the top hit for James Kwon. If you look, there's a lot of us Asian guys with the name James Kwon, but I think I'm still the top. And slices, the number one way to get involved in slices right now is through cohort. So super excited to launch these. This is the third iteration of the cohort that we've put together. So we're still fairly early, which means the rate is lower than what our ideal is. So we're trying to fill that cohort now. Should be running in the next month or two. So by the time people see this, I think there still will be time to join in, and we try to honor whatever rate exists. Even if you can't get into this one, you can reserve the spot for the next one. So that's the best way to do it. If you're really eager to get slices going, then you can reach out to me. We can set something up one-on-one and do a kind of a private session around slices.
Awesome. Well, yeah, if you want to reach out to James, please do around slices. And if you have any trouble doing any of those things that he mentioned, just reach out to me and I'll make the introduction or something.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Well, thank you for coming on. This has been a blast.
Appreciate it, Dave. Thanks.